Mr. Speaker, I shall refer my colleagues to Article 35, 5B. The state shall take appropriate measures to achieve reasonable regional and gender balance in recruitment and appointment of public officers. The state and its government is headed by the president, who alone has executive powers of state. If you read Article 58 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, Article 58 of the Constitution provides, the executive authority of Ghana shall vest in the President and shall be exercised in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. So I agree with you that Mr. President has the prerogative, but that prerogative, as you again said, must be exercised within the ambit of the Constitution, and that is provided for by Article 35, 6B. Mr. Speaker, my observation is well founded. So far, we have had chief executive appointments. These chief executive appointments to state-owned institutions have no regional balance. These appointments have no regional balance. The appointment to ministerial office thus far cannot be said to have a fair representation. I've already argued the gender imbalance. I've already made that argument. I will not go there. We have Western region. We have Central region. We have Greater Accra, which is predominantly made up of Gans and Adangwes. We have Volta region, generally made up of Evers and Loss. How many of them are being appointed into this government? We have Oti region. How many from Oti are getting the opportunity? Mr. Speaker, if you go to Upper West, Northeast, Mr. Speaker, in the Northeast, they are predominantly Mampruships. Yes, it's a fact. Yes, it's a fact. Are we seeing a representation of them? This is a constitutional requirement. It is in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, all we are saying is, Mr. President, check the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, maybe I should walk my colleagues through memory lane. When President Kufuor, listen, please, colleagues, we are not just talking. When President Kufuor was in office, I recall, was it his first term or second term? Mr. Speaker, in his first term, it got to a point during the appointment, somebody asked President Kufuor about this same matter, and he said, oh, he's made an appointment to Upper East Regional Minister. He said, no, in your cabinet, at least there should be a representation from all corners of the country. Upper West, very well, thank you. Mr. President, at the time, therefore, make sure that somebody was appointed to fill a Minister of State.
Kasim Kasanga.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Professor Kasim Kasanga therefore came in to fill the lands ministry. Our friends should listen. You have come into government. Any useful comment you oppose, you are behaving as though you are in opposition. Please listen to us. At least when you made that first mistake of letting a secretary to president write to us, and we corrected. Now today, Mr. President himself is writing. Mr. Speaker, I would plead with my colleagues that when we make comments, they should convey to the presidency. Honorable Defemeko is now telling us that Mr. President has up to 7,000 appointees to appoint. He says Mr. President has 7,000. Really? So it is no more 60 appointees. Now you are saying, you are telling.
Show, and of course we set the tone with those encounters in Parliament on the back of the nominations and the appointments we've seen, and we'll be getting into the salient matters right here in the studio. But let me first walk you through what exactly has been happening so far. When you look at the regional ministers, as you can see in this slide, you would realize that the nominees are plenty. You'd have from the first slide Ali Adolf John for the Northern Region, John Kwejo Japong, Oti James Gunu Volta, Mrs. Ajay Awate. You would also have, that's Eastern, Ibrahim Tia Northeast, Dr. Mwakohene Ashanti, Akamugri Atanga in the Upper East, and Charity Gardner in Ahafo. If you go to the next set, of course, there are 16 of those regions. Salisu B. Auribe in Savannah, Lindo, Oklu, Greater Accra, Wobed Brentum, Western North, Eduanoma Ochre, Central, Joseph Nelson Western. For Upper West, you have Pozwing Charles Luanga, and then Joseph Akwabwa in Bono, and Francis Owusu, Bono East. That's the tail of the tape for the regional situation. But if we move from there, we would like you to look at some of the appointments, some of the nominations that have come to the fore. These three have already been cleared. Dr. Kasilato Forson, Ministry of Finance, John Abdullahi Jinapo, Energy and Green Transition, and then Dominic Ayene, Attorney General and Minister of Justice. They've sailed through, but there's another, there are so many more to go. They've also seen Parliament's Appointments Committee, Kwame Governs Abuja for Roads and Highways, Eric Opoku for Agric, and of course, you also have Agnes Namumulate for the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And if you move on from there, someone I know who was also pivoting for her seat, her constituency, and now she gets the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Emilia Arthur, Member of Parliament. Ablaji Fagomashi, of course, we know, heading for the Ministry of Tourism, and then we have Georgia Paria Ado, Interesting Development, Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. There's still more. Haruna Idrisu, of course, slated for education. He's had his turn before the committee. Then there is Ahmed Ibrahim, Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. And then Elizabeth Ofosu-Ajari, MP, Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, fused together. There's still more. Dr. Omanibuama for Defense. You have Sam Nate George for Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations. And then the Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua as well for Lands and Natural Resources. He would be taking over from where Abu Jinapo left off. And then Kofi Adams for Sports. Recently, my colleague Muftar Nabila Abdullahi was asking him whether he was headed there. Well, he is there. Sports and Recreation, Abdul Rashid Pelpo is back. Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment. And then we have Kwabena Mensah Akando. How many times do you not hear us engage him on health-related matters? Well, he's headed to the Health Ministry. And then Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, he's been with Trade and Industry as a Deputy Minister. Now he heads to the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. Joseph Bukari Nikbe is Ministry of Transport, and then that's the ministry he's headed to. Muntaka Mubarak, he is headed to the Ministry of Interior. And that's how it's looking. And then, interesting times, of course, many knew that he will be heading to this ministry. Sam Okujeto Ablakwa, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ajay Kenneth Gilbert, Minister of Works, Housing and Water Resources, and then Emmanuel Ajekum, Minister of State in charge of special initiatives, right? And then in terms of state government communications, Felix Kwachiofosu, he's been speaking for the transition team, he's been speaking for the president, and that's his role. And then Isifu Seidu, Minister of State, Climate Change and Sustainability. These, so far, are the ones we know. But we're going to give you some context, very briefly, in terms of the claims of Afenyo Markin versus the reality. If you look at it, the total ministers to be appointed, the promise was 60. All things being equal. Next slide. Now, if you go to the next slide, you would realize that of the 60, 42 appointments have been made so far, which means that all things being equal would have a deficit of 18 as of today. Next slide. Now, of the 42 appointments made, those for regional ministers are 16. We have 16 regions. And then 26 are ministers of state. Now, we'll give you a further breakdown in the next slide because if you look at our analysis, at least 31 ministers are expected to come from Parliament, all things being equal. That's our analysis, 31 of them. And there's a further breakdown on that number of 31 because if you look at the ministerial MPs so far, so MPs being put forward as ministers, you would have 24 out of the 42 appointments made so far. Again, more context. Now, the ministerial MPs remaining, per the 31, you remember the value, so 24 plus 7 would give you that 31. At least 7 are yet to be appointed from our analysis. If you go to the next slide. Now, what does the Constitution say? Article 78 has something interesting. It says, 1, ministers of state shall be appointed by the president with the prior approval of Parliament from among members of Parliament. From among members of Parliament or persons qualified to be elected as members of Parliament, which means those people may not have to be members of Parliament, and except that the majority of ministers of state shall be appointed from among members of Parliament. So it says the president has leeway, but the majority of them must come from Parliament. Next slide. Now, if you look at the gender balance test, that has also come into question. This morning, Afil Mone was referencing that. Of the 42 appointments made so far, the male ministers are 35. The female ministers are 7. That's 16+%. You can round it off to 17% for females and 83+%. This decimal 0.3 cannot be rolled over. And that is for male ministers. And sweetie, that is the question that has come to the fore because we've been talking about gender balance, not just regional balance, gender balance. And that's the tail of the tape.
Party's interpretation of gender balance is because in order for you to make a case on whether or not these appointments we are seeing so far disproportionately favor one party or one gender over the other, I need to understand what the interpretation of those keywords are. But of course, we'll get into the conversation right here in the studio. Joining us in the studio for this conversation this morning is the former Majority Chief Whip, and he's in the studio with us. That is Matthew Nyindam, and he's Member of Parliament for Pandai. And we also have joining us via Zoom, Yusuf Sulemana, and he's Member of Parliament for Bolebambo. And we'll get there in terms of what they're doing in his hometown and the contest of whether or not he's been sidelined or not. But let's start from here in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, my dear. How are you?
I'm fantastic. What is your understanding or interpretation of gender balance? Benjamin gave us what the Constitution said. Yeah. What is your interpretation of gender balance, regional balance? And then we can start from there.
You see, thank you very well. And very well, too. For the first time coming here, I've been watching you. Good morning to the people of Bandai. And then if you ask gender balance, what is balance? Balance is to make sure that at least you weigh in the two. It should be closer, if not equal. Is that not the case? Then we say it's balance, 50-50. Then complete balance. Are we together with that?
I'm following you. I want you to land on your thoughts.
Because we are all advocating that let's get the female, the male to be equal. That's the advocacy. That's what all of you have been preaching, especially our female ones. The affirmative action. you've pushed it so hard. And we think that looking at the appointment so far, it's not been balanced. If you look at the figures just projected by my good friend, 16. If you want to run it, 17. Against 83 or 84. We think that, obviously, it is not balanced.
Okay. So were you expecting 50-50 for total balance, like you said?
Yes, that's total balance will be 50-50.
That's what your expectation, based on the provision in the Constitution?
Yes, that's what the Constitution says. Okay. That there must be gender balance.
Right.
There must be regional balance. There must be even race balance. All those things are not written there for nothing. They have reasons why they are supposed to be there. But let's focus on the female-male aspect, the gender aspect. Because if you want to go to the nitty-gritties of the race, the tribes, and other things, I don't think that any government can totally fulfill that.
Okay.
I don't think, because the tribal differences in this country are so large.
You just have higher expectations of this administration.
Yes.
Is that it?
Sorry?
You just said that no government can actually,
when it comes to the tribal nitty-gritties, it's a bit difficult to some extent. Because if you take the northern region alone and want to tell you the number of tribes that forms the northern region, if you want to give everybody ministerial appointment, you end up exhausting even the 60 without going to any other region. So that one we can pardon to some extent. But when it comes to gender, and if you take this parliament, the 9th parliament, the number of women in that house, we don't see why out of the 42, only 7 have been given appointments.
Right.
I think that is not the best.
Yeah, Ben will come in shortly, maybe take us to Zoom. But is this concern only for the ministerial appointments? Because when you look at the other nominations to the SOEs, the number of women we have in Parliament, we're not doing that bad, are we?
Currently, we don't see that.
So your concern is just for the ministerial appointments?
You see, we should not always try to bring women as the second face. If you listen to the leader, our problem is that we have very competent women in the House. Why will you want them to be deputies? Why will you want to do that? Zinato is there. She's not been given anything. Why? Aji Aladi, she's a 5th timer or 4th timer, 5th timer in Parliament. Madam from Karachi West, Madam Helen Ajua Ntoso, very experienced woman. There are other women. Why are you keeping them in Parliament? Why will you want to use them for?
Now, the question is, these names and the other women in Parliament, have they put themselves forward? Have they...
They have won their seats consistently.
Yes, but you're talking about... It's different,
even the transitional
team.
Even the transitional team, she was part of it.
It's different business in Parliament and what you do differently as a minister. I'm asking whether or not they put themselves forward, and you're speaking based on the competencies of these women.
So are you doubting?
I'm not doubting. I'm probing what you're saying.
We are telling you that we know the women, we are with them. They are capable. They are even more than capable.
Okay.
Because you know Zinato very well. Even as part of their transitional team, she was part of them. She was with them. If you take Ajua Helen Ntoso, she's been a minister before. A very distinguished woman. Why will you keep her? These names I'm mentioning, you cannot push them to become deputy minister.
Right. Benjamin.
You cannot do that.
Well, it's interesting. I'll come to you in a bit, but let me also get Yusuf Suleimana. The female-male ratio has always posed problems. But let me get to Yusuf Suleimana. He's Member of Parliament for Bole Bamboy, to be specific. Mr. Suleimana, a very good morning to you, sir. Yusuf Suleimana, if you can hear me, good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I am well. It's good to have you join the conversation this morning.
Sure.
We've got some information filtering through, seen some videos in respect of some disgruntled members of the National Democratic Congress who are not happy that though the ministerial nominees or appointments have not completely been made, they feel you are being sidelined, on the back of which they have expressed very stiff disapproval. What is your take in terms of the reaction of your constituents?
First of all, let me greet our listeners and to also greet yourself and those in the studio. For me, it was a very big shame when I saw that act yesterday. I have not been sidelined in any way. I am closely in touch with the big man. And for me, His Excellency, the President, is worth 60 minutes. And this is a man who is coming from Bole. What are we looking for a minister to do with? We are looking for a minister, we are looking for an appointment in order that we can bring development to our people. So if you have the president himself coming from that area, what is a minister, what would be a minister's duty in this equation? Okay? So for me,
is that to say, I get the bit about the shame, but is that to say, if you were appointed, you were given an appointment, you would not take it?
If the man says that, you see, this is where I want you to be. If His Excellency John Dramani Mahama tells me that tomorrow morning, I want you to start coming to my house every morning to clean my shoes so that at the end of the day, I'll be comfortable and deliver, I will do it. All I'm saying is that it was a shame that they went into that angle, and that again, for me, we have had enough. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is from Bole, he's the president, and God has been nice to us. He has blessed us with a man. Let us allow him some peace, let us allow him some space to establish his government. I spoke with him through text last night, and I have access to him. So I was a bit surprised when I saw the youth burning ties and all of that. That is not my nature. I have maintained that I will not take anybody to go and lobby for me. He knows me very well. He will call me and send me as and when he wants me to do something for him. And already we have started working to bring development in the area. So I have appealed to them to be calm, and that, like you said, he has not even finished with his appointment. If he deems it fit to say that you should go and serve here, why not? And so I think that my people should be calmed. So far, the appointments have been very, very fair. Take Upper West, for instance. They delivered 11 over 11. He's given them 2 ministers, a regional minister and a cabinet minister. Go to Upper East, they have 2 ministers. They have delivered 15 over 15 seats. And so everywhere, about 8 regions that did very well have been given 2 ministers, a regional minister and a substantive minister. And that is the same thing that he has done for Savannah region. We have a minister of energy, a very strategic ministry, and we have our regional minister. So I think that our people should be calmed. I think that they should give our brother space to establish his government and deliver. Indeed, Ghanaians have been very, very nice to us, the people of Bole, for bringing him back to come and serve Ghana. And so, once again, my appeal is that they should stop misconducting themselves, and that we should give respect to our brother and our traditional rulers over there, and that we should exercise patience to see the development that we expect to get in that area.
It stands to reason then that you did not support this action. It was done on your blind side. Have you interacted with your constituents since these incidents to express your sentiments to them?
Yes, so yesterday it was a journalist, the Inkling FM manager, who drew my attention to that act. So quickly I called the constituency chairman, I called the police, and I also called my elder brother, 2 of my elder brothers, to ensure that they stop the guys from misbehaving. And that was how it was calmed. And then again, I issued a statement condemning the act and appealing to them. And I also went on radio around that same time to appeal to them and to tell them that we have no moral right whatsoever to involve ourselves in that act. And that God has been nice to us for giving us a president. This was a man who came as a vice president. He became a president, went into opposition. It has never happened. God has brought him back. We should be proud of him, and we should be thanking God on a daily basis rather than involving ourselves in this unfortunate act. And so I've spoken to them. In fact, if I didn't intervene, even Bamboy area, they were going to also misconduct themselves. So I stopped them, and the whole of last night, I didn't sleep. I was in touch with the people to ensure that there's calm there, That embarrassment, that disgrace must stop. And so we are good to go. I can assure you that things have returned to normalcy, and we are on good course.
I just have this bit for you before Sweetie comes in. You do mention that you interacted with the president via text. Was he disappointed in the actions? Because he's been MP there before. Was he disappointed in the constituents and how they had acted?
He hasn't shown that. I just narrated to him what happened and then also apologized to him because they did that in my name, even though I'm not aware of it. And so as a well-trained brother of his, I thought that I should apologize to him. And he acknowledged my apology. And even this morning as I speak to you, after this interview, I'm heading towards his house. Okay, so there's no any problem. Let me use this opportunity to appeal to all NDC youth across the country that we cannot afford to disappoint Ghanaians, and that we need to give the president and his appointees the maximum cooperation so that they will deliver. And once they deliver, I can assure you, 2028, we can win with ease. And so my appeal to them is that let us not be self-centered. Let us look at the generality of the people's interests, and that we should give our president and the appointees the needed support so that they will make us proud.
Right. Sir, I appreciate your condemnation of these actions, but I'm curious to know, if you were to make an educated guess, where do you think this is coming from? This is about you. Why do you think this is happening?
Now, the truth of the matter is that our youth perhaps thought that if I were put in a very, let's say, strategic place, I will be able to help them. But what they have forgotten is that where I am today, very close to the president, we don't need me as a minister to be able to solve their problems. I have heard some of them saying that if I don't get a position, they don't get the opportunity to be recruited into the forces, they don't get the opportunity to get jobs. And I have told them that even when I was not MP and the president was the president of this nation, he gave me an opportunity. And many of them who were qualified got into so many jobs. And so now that I'm an MP and he's a president, I'm very closer to him than I was, they shouldn't worry. That's the assurance I've given them, that they have no cause to complain. Once the president is alive and I'm around him, their concerns will be met.
Thank you, sir. Please hold for us. Let's get back into the studio and continue the conversation. Now, let's give you some time to reflect. If
I can just make a quick comment with respect to the issue of gender balance and the position of my colleague. I think he's gotten it wrong. When we talk of gender balance in this case, you must also look at the totality of the people that you are talking about. You have a parliament where women in that parliament are far less than men. And so if you are talking about balance, it is not for you to just say that women in parliament should be equal to men in parliament in terms of the sharing of the positions. That is wrong. In any case, even the affirmative action bill that we passed recently, they are pushing for 30%. It's a gradual process. So if President Mahama at the end of the day is able to make 30% of his appointees go to women, he would have satisfied that issue of gender balance. And so far, so good. The people that he has appointed, women he has appointed, I can tell you that he's on course. And we should not also look at the appointment coming from only parliament. We should look at the total appointment that he would have been made at the end of the day. If we do that and he's not getting the 30%, then you can have a right to question him. As it stands now, he's on course. If you look at the ratio of men and women in parliament, where he is now is right. And let us put this in mind.
Thank you, sir. So, reflections on all that.
Yes, so but I'm not wrong.
Like you have different interpretation.
No, I don't. It's the same thing. I don't have a different interpretation because if I'm talking about 50-50, it simply doesn't mean that I'm talking about the total.
Right.
That's not what I mean. If we have 30 men, okay, and we have 3 women or 4 women, you are taking 50% of that and taking 50% of this.
Right.
So I'm not talking about, I equally have those numbers in mind.
Right.
So he should not think that I'm just boxing everything together. So if the total number of women we have in parliament now he should go and check and let's know the total number of women in Parliament. And the appointment done so far, does it reflect the same done for men? That's where the debate is.
He also made a point about looking at the whole, the total number of appointments and nominations made and the women in there, not just, seclude only this to the ministerial appointments.
I'm not discounting that.
Right.
I'm just telling you that so far the appointment that has been done has to do with ministerial appointments. Okay? The appointment that he's talking outside Parliament, it's not women alone that are going to be appointed. They are going to appoint men as well. So if you are getting Parliament right, then we know that when you go outside Parliament, you get it right. But for now, the percentages we are seeing, 83% against 16%, is low. So you should not try and say that when they go outside Parliament, they will try to make that 30% or 40%. We want to see that reflect in Parliament. Because if the women were not in Parliament, we wouldn't complain. We would not have been talking, but they are there.
Honorable Nyindam, let's look at it from this angle.
Yes.
If you look at it, there are 40 female MPs.
Yes,
right?
their side.
40 female MPs.
Yes.
I don't think it's just their side.
I want us to even look at their side only.
No, that's the point. That's where I'm getting to.
Thank you.
There are 40 female MPs.
Yes.
In Parliament, right? Which means that there have been some diminishing returns from both sides.
Yes.
If you look at the 40, not all those 40 are from the NDC side. So even if you gave their side, I still have to check the figures to find out how many female NDC MPs are female. But even if you gave them 25, let's say 25, and I stand corrected on that because I'm still checking on that.
No problem.
If you gave them 25 and you do the mathematics, that is 8 divided by 25 times 100, you would get some 32%. Do you get it?
That's if you are using this 25.
So the point is, there is room for improvement, but especially as you have a case where there are lower numbers of women in Parliament, and this president has also decided to lower the numbers of ministers. Because mind you, once the ministerial appointments come down, it means fewer men and fewer women already will be getting in. When you look at those dynamics, does it still look as bad as you paint the picture?
You see, we are all trying to achieve something in the shortest possible time, where our women will be ranking with men. Okay, so you take a percentage of 83. Then you take a percentage of 16.
Right.
Obviously, we have question marks. And that's why we are probing. We all know there is room for improvement. But what we are saying is that it should not always be that only deputy ministers that will come in to push all the ladies to go and second the men. That's our challenge. We are not saying that the appointment is done is bad, but we are just saying that recognition must be given to the female ones, and then gender and all other things that we've mentioned about. Now, if you listen to my good friend, it's okay to speak the way he has spoken. You asked a question, I thought that he should have answered, what would trigger this? It is the promises that they promise him and his constituents. The campaign.
How did you know about
my brother, they were sending him to Lance. They went and removed him. They were sending him to trade. They removed him. You see, all this information, it gets down to the grassroots.
I'm asking how.
Oh, but we are all in Parliament. We are all in Parliament. You hear even more. This information is available to you people. Yeah, that you cannot say it. And they've been unfair to him.
Hey,
I'm telling you, my brother has been the ranking member for trade 4 years.
Okay.
He's fought for the party. Okay. And his constituents have been assured. They went there and told them that, look, you see, he's going to be a minister if we will win. Only for him now to say John is coming from there. We all know he's coming from.
Ben,
We all know.
I think
nobody can take that
voice to come to.
Oh wait, Yusuf, let me speak for you. You cannot speak on this matter. You cannot speak.
Yusuf, hold for me. Hold for me. Yusuf Suleiman, hold for me. Hold for me.
Look, Yusuf cannot speak. I have to speak for him.
Let me correct this.
No, I allow you to correct, but just let Matthew Nyindam land. Mr. Nyindam.
Yusuf is lying. So I have to put it to him that he's lying.
Don't worry. You let me finish the lies.
Let him finish.
Let me finish the lies.
To you in a bit, please.
You let me finish the lies. You see, they've been unfair to Yusuf. He's my friend. They've been unfair to him. And they constantly, look, you know that 4 years ago, 4 years of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Right.
You know that the people even in Bole accused him that he did not help them. Are you getting what I'm saying? And then it's not easy for your grassroots to assess the president like the way they will assess you, the MP. It's a fact. The youth in Bole can assess Yusuf easier. And their problems can be solved easier than going to John Dramani Mahama's office. It's not possible. So the youth have a legitimate concern, but I condemn the violent aspects.
Okay.
As for the violent, I don't endorse it. They could make their case without necessarily destroying the property in Bole. But the cry is a legitimate cry. And I like the angle Yusuf is coming because there is no way Yusuf will come out publicly to tell the president that he's not been treated fairly, or he will tell the party he's not been treated fairly. So he should leave that one for us to help him, so that when in the next time when there's going to be reshuffling, they can quickly put him there for him to go and help his constituents.
Well, there are still some appointments.
Oh, Yusuf is above deputy. They won't give. He won't go for. He will settle for deputy. He will not. If he settles for deputy, it's not going to help him. It's my
the
friend.
way you're speaking on authority. So perhaps it's a good time to usher in.
Yes, he should not settle for deputy. It will help him.
So what were you going to say?
I think that my colleagues seated there just took advantage to do politics.
I'm not in Bible.
If we ask you to adduce evidence of anybody telling my constituents that I was going to be made a minister, will you be able to do that? So an honorable person like you, I would suggest that you withdraw that and apologize to me. Because for me, you do not have evidence to suggest that this was said to my people. That's the first issue. The second issue is that you are talking about accessibility. I just told you, I have access to the president. And so if they have access to me, and I can have access to the president, their problems will be resolved. So I don't need to be a minister to be able to solve their problems. And that was the communication I sent to them yesterday. Let me also put on record that the issue of Bole people not happy with John Mahama's performance, go and look at the constituency very well and compare the constituency with other constituencies in the north. In terms of electrification, Bole is well connected. Water, we have done so much in that area. I'm talking about His Excellency John Dramani Mahama when he was the president and an MP. When it comes to road network, a lot was done. So don't sit here and want to take advantage of the misconduct of my boys or our people to, as it were, create any confusion. I can assure you that the people of Bole are fine. The people...
Oh.
Well, we seem to have lost Yusuf Suleiman. We'll try to reconnect with him. But I found something interesting. If you recall from 2019, in fact, at the time, the cabinet ministers of former President Akufo-Addo, only 5 were female. And it wasn't a horrible number, but people felt he could have done better at the time. And to be fair to him, though it didn't meet the 30% he had touted, it was around 26% in terms of cabinet ministerial positions. In 2020, there were 8 females. All I'm trying to say is that a lot more work must be done across the board, and like you said, progressively, so that we can get to the point where we have more females. The good thing is, apart from Parliament, where the purported majority must come from, constitution-wise, the president is free to appoint outside of Parliament as well to complement the numbers. But what do you think over time, since you are in Parliament, what do you think, both sides, you can do to make this even more effective? Affirmative action, it's on the cards. What do we do?
It's a conscious effort.
Conscious efforts in the day, I can't bro.
Oh, no, but that's the only
From
thing.
Rawlings to Kufuor, we've been talking about conscious effort, and it hasn't really materialized in the numbers.
You see, like you rightly looked at the Constitution, majority must be appointed from Parliament. Okay, and that's why we are making this case and making it strongly. For the first time, although the numbers, the female numbers in Parliament has dropped, but personally, when I entered the 9th Parliament and I saw the number of women from the NDC side, I was impressed. Because a lot of women on the NDC side came to Parliament. I'm highly, highly impressed. So it is a booster. If more of them get opportunity to become ministers, other women who are out there, who also struggle. Women in politics is a very difficult thing. It's a very, very... So if you get women putting up themselves to contest and win elections, such women must be honored. Okay? But if at the end of the day, you go to Parliament and our women are not there, that one, you can make a case. But if the women are there, why can't you appoint them? But it's conscious effort. Women must try as much as possible to put themselves up and win more seats. You see that my friend Yusuf was trying to use the male-female number. Because the more we get female...
But you cannot run away from that as well.
I'm not running. I agreed with him. But I was just looking at, if they are this and they are getting 88%, the female are this, they should also be getting equal high percentages. That's what I'm saying. But to get women in Parliament is the very important thing. Advocacy. Gender must push. Female, you know, if you take the population census, it tells you the women are more than men. So if a woman puts herself up to contest for an election, the female one should also support. Okay. Because normally, women are more sensitive and people will say they do better than men when they get opportunity to serve. Right. So it's something we are all praying
These
for.
conversations excite me, you know,
yes.
because not only because I'm a woman, but I really want us to...
But being a woman is also part.
Yes, a big part of it. Do you think that your administration did better in terms of the gender balance? If not, why is this such a pertinent conversation to be raised now? At this time?
Like you rightly said. So today, cabinet will be 4 women. Today, per the appointment, because there are 4 female. Leave out the regional ministers who are 3. So cabinet, there are 4. Akufo this time, there were 5. I know you are going to talk about the number. Because Akufo this time, there were more ministers. This time, they are looking at 60. Is that not the case?
Yeah.
The second leg, he talked about 8. And we are all praying that we improve.
Exactly.
So you cannot be
has this
turning us back.
administration's nomination not been an improvement in terms of the gender bill?
I haven't seen that.
Ah.
We haven't seen that.
Okay.
We haven't seen that. 1688. 83. We haven't seen that.
Okay.
I'll come to you briefly. There's something I want you to address as we move forward. But Yusuf Suleimana, I also heard something from Honorable Nyindam. He said that, oh, you are bigger than a deputy ministerial position. I didn't see you address that. So I want to ask you as well. If you were given, you've said that even if he...
Clean issue. He will accept clean issue. So obviously he will accept...
He will do it in the interest of the nation. If he gives you a deputy, that is the president, offers you a deputy ministerial position, is this something you will take?
Ben, this is my elder brother. Traditionally, even if he asks me to carry his bag to the office every day, I have no right to object to it. And so I am more than ready to serve him. If he says I should come and clean his room every morning, and that is what will make him succeed, I will do it. At the end of the day, whatever legacy he leaves, it's not a legacy just for him, but for the people of Bole, the tribe called Gonjes, the group of people called Northerners, and all of us as a people. And so whatever contribution you can make to ensure that he succeeds, it is an obligation. There's no any option, okay? So whatever responsibility His Excellency, the fair gentleman of the land, asked me to do, it is an obligation, and I have to do it with joy, okay? But let me just also say this. My colleague spoke about the fact that there's a need for us to have more women in Parliament, and that he recognized the fact that NDC will have more women in Parliament. I think he should applaud the NDC and its executives. That didn't just happen by chance. there was a strategic intervention to ensure that many women win primaries.
Right.
And even filing fees, we were considerate, the party was considerate as to how much female candidates will pay. And even in terms of support, women were strategically given support than men. And that is what has resulted in the increase of numbers of women in parliament. And I think you should recognize that the NDC as a party is gradually working to ensure that women are given the opportunity to be able to win more seats, and so they are able to come to parliament. And then we can talk about appointing many more of them to be able to get the 30% or the balance that we are talking about. Right. So it's not just about saying it, but he should advise his party that they should be pragmatic, that they should put in place some strategies and policies to be able to get many women have the confidence to contest at the primaries, and that if there's a way to help them fairly for them to be able to win the primaries so they can come to parliament, they should do it. All right. The NDC intend to ensure that areas where we call our strongholds, if women are contesting and there's a way you can negotiate for men to even cede their interest for women to come in, whilst the men are also giving some attention somewhere, we will do it. And that's what we should be doing. And that's what the NDC has started. They can learn from us.
All right. We'll get to the bit about regional balance shortly, but I just wanted to put to you, beyond you, the nominees so far, and some of them have gone ahead to be appointed, given the green light to move forward. The likes of Afil Moni have spoken about the quality of nominations or appointments made so far. Beyond you, how do you feel about those who have been put forward, the quality of people who have been put forward for ministerial positions?
Yesterday, I had the opportunity to contribute to the motion for us to approve the first three that were vetted. And I tell you, from both sides, including my brother seated there, they all agree that indeed, this is the first time we've seen this kind of quality of men and women that have been nominated for such strategic positions. Take Honorable Dominic Ayeni. This is a guy a man whose reputation even goes beyond this country. Take my good brother, Honorable John Abdullah Jinapo, a young visionary person who is very knowledgeable, well experienced in the areas of energy and finance, ready to learn. And this is a guy who can give us an assurance that, look, the doom that we have inherited, go and sleep, we'll solve it. And indeed, he's solving it. Take my good brother, Honorable Atufosen. You agree with me that this is a man who really understands what we call finance. And he demonstrated this when he was interviewed. And so many of our men and women who have been nominated are apt and they are going to deliver. And they know it. And so for me, John Dramani Mahama is on course. So far, so good. The people he has nominated are the best. And even if you have many more that can do that same work, they have to wait. When the time comes, they will also be given the opportunity to serve.
That's an interesting point about they have to wait and when the time comes. But the reality too is, with the president saying that he's received thousands of CVs and with only 60 slots, you remember the president said some people are going to be disappointed. Sweetie.
Yeah. I want us to look at the regional imbalance that your side is accusing President John Dramani Mahama of. You're saying that the nominations we are seeing so far disproportionately favor some regions over others. How do you substantiate this claim?
Yeah, before I get that, obviously you my friend said a lot of things that I have to react to them.
You're enjoying speaking for him today.
No, I'm not speaking. No, I'm not speaking for him.
Let the reactions be bite-sized.
Because if you talk about we learning from them when it comes to assisting our female to come to parliament, they have rather even stolen our vision. Because in this country, it was a time we told people that, look, if a female is holding a position in parliament, if you want to contest, it should not be a man. It should be a woman. In this country. The NDC spoke against it. Today he's saying we should come and learn from them. When it comes to filing of nominations, MPP has always made sure that females who are ready to contest, young men who are ready to contest, they pay less of the filing fee. And we've given them enabling environment.
So, Honorable Nyindam,
so that
it appears both of you are doing the same thing, regardless of who copied whom.
No, we started it. We started it. So he can't say we should learn from it.
Honorable Nyindam, all I'm saying is,
he's just saying this time.
Regardless of who copied whom,
yes,
we are all happy because in the end,
yes,
we'll have more.
No, but let him know that they are copying from us.
Okay.
That aside. Right. Now your question is about...
Substantiate your claim that there's a regional imbalance in the nominations we're seeing so far.
You see, well, if you look at regional ministers, if you put regional ministers together, obviously, every regional minister will have to be appointed from the region. That one, you cannot debate that.
But I think in some cases, at least one case I know, you remember the...
Unless there is a shuffle or there is a special
the Boku
problem.
situation,
there is a special
where to avoid any side claiming...
He was appointed. But when we realized that because of that conflict, he was shifted to Upper West. And then the Upper West was brought to Upper East. All things being equal, they will appoint all regional ministers from their region. Now, all other appointments, we think that, look, if you take voter region, for instance, okay, it's press, the airways. If you go to OT, if you come to voter ASF, if you come to Greater Accra, you see airways all along these areas. Our argument is that to whom much is given, much is expected. That's the call we are making. And like I said, even that one, I'm not too keen about it. Although it's a call we have made, I am not too keen about it because if you want to go into the nitty-gritties of our various tribes, there's no precedent that can meet it. That I must be fair and sincere.
Yet your side is raising.
Oh yes,
or sounding the alarm.
It's not an alarm. We are just, you see, we are in opposition.
Are you really bringing
this up? You
must draw people's attention to things that they have to do.
Honorable Nyindam, right. Are you bringing this up because Afenyomarkin, your leader, has brought it up? Has it become an issue because Afenyomarkin has spoken about it?
I don't understand your question.
Afenyomarkin has been speaking about, in fact, yesterday was talking about regional balance.
Yeah, he was just quoting the Constitution and making sure that, look, he's drawing
the Constitution has been same since you've been in power. The Constitution has been the same.
It is. The Constitution has been the same since '92. But we keep criticizing it. They've been a letter or whatever that we are going to review the Constitution. Is that not the case? Yeah. Because there are some... Yes, there are some lapses that we think that we must cure. Is that not the case? So if Afenyomarkin is making a call and bringing out the current constitutional matters, I don't think that we should be faulting him. I don't think so.
No, I'm not saying we should fault him. I'm merely saying
don't say
become an issue because your leader has...
It is not that. It has become an issue because we think that... No. I'm not defending it. The issues are gender and other issues. My interest is gender. Okay? My interest is gender. But as for the other tribal thing, I've seen a map and they've gone every region 2. That's what they've done. But obviously, I don't want to go into it because I would have been going into two tribal issues.
And that's, I was about to ask
and that is what I don't want to
whether
do.
with these appointments...
I don't want to. Because I don't want to delve so much into the tribal matters. Because when you do that...
because you don't have evidence to back this claim?
Sorry?
You've not been able to get into the tribal issues. Yes. Is it because you really don't have...
it's
a non-issue?
You inflame passions.
You inflame passions?
When it comes to tribal emotions. So I don't want to delve much into it. Whoever is appointed, I believe that let's look at it. Let's remind President that, look, you can do more. There are so many tribes. Let's see how we can get everybody on board.
Why are we even having this conversation? Because part of the conversation, if you narrow it down, it comes back to ethnocentric tendencies. That
is where I don't want us to get.
No, but that's where we've got to.
No, look, he made a call. He quoted the Constitution, Article 25, and the various clauses that come under.
Afenyomarkin was mentioning Gadangme and all of that. What was that?
I will not go into those details. He talked about gender, and my interest is about gender. That is what I want to focus on.
Right.
You've talked about the other issues, and I'm telling you that, look, Afenyo is not making a story on his own. He's just telling you what the Constitution is mandating the president to do. So in appointment, he should be mindful of the A, B, C, D. That's what Afenyo has done.
And what I'm saying is, you
Yes.
you just said moments ago
Yes.
that you're simply shining lights on these issues, right? You're in opposition, so you have to draw the attention of Ghanaians that there are gender imbalances, regional imbalances, and all that. Now, I'm saying that it's not enough to just say that these things exist without actually giving the Ghanaian evidence to say that we are saying there's regional imbalance because we've seen too many nominations coming from the northern belt. And this is why we are saying that. You can't pick and choose what you speak to when this is a claim that your side is making. It's a point I'm making to you.
You still want to get me there.
No, because you've made this claim. You've said that there's regional imbalance. But there's nothing right now as we speak that we can fall on to say that indeed one region has been sidelined completely or the other,
Yes.
or someone is giving more attention to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we can, if we cannot establish that, then we shouldn't make this claim.
He's read the Constitution in whole. He never read it in parts. Okay?
Okay.
So if you are reading the Constitution, the gender aspect and all these ones comes into that particular article. So he read it in whole.
Okay.
He could have mentioned one or two things that maybe for now it's not materializing.
Right.
So the fact that he mentioned that doesn't mean that I should delve deep into it, because I don't want to look more tribalistic.
Okay.
I don't want to go that way.
Okay.
So I will only speak to what I think that is not going right, like the gender thing, where we think that, look, there must be more women appointment. And it should not just be deputy to make a case for our women who are more competent and having given that opportunity to serve. With regards to the tribal and the regional imbalances, for now, I would not want to delve into those ones.
Okay.
For now, they've been 2-2-2-2 across. We hope that the call from the minority leader that, look, be sensitive to Article 25 of our 1992 Constitution is something that the president must pay attention to. And I think that if he does that, he's going to help all of us.
My very last bit on the gender part is, with just about 18 more nominations to go,
Yes.
what can you do about it? How do you intend to escalate this call for gender parity or gender balance in the nominations?
We all intend to do it together, not me alone. Not me alone or the minority alone. Are you get what I'm saying? It's not just the minority alone. I've mentioned some names. There are other names that are there. Are you getting me? And I think that the president will reflect on this particular names. The president, maybe the reshuffling, I believe that he will obviously reshuffle because he knows what it has caused the former president for not reshuffling. So I know he will reshuffle. And in the process of reshuffling, more of the women will be brought on board. And the few ones he wants to use as deputies, he should come to Parliament and look for the competent ones and then assist them to.
No, we're not
also
going to get
grow.
deputy ministers this time.
Well, I don't know. I don't really know what, because so far it's 42. They are left with 18. So if they are going to, for now, the ministries have been exhausted. Unless he wants to make them ministers of
What
state.
we know is that maybe
Unless
the regional may not have
Deputies.
But
Yes, and
then
me,
there may be
even if you add me, my position, I don't even subscribe to deputy ministers. I don't believe that.
Right.
Because sometimes the deputy ministers they are not given the opportunity to operate by their ministers. So,
But some ministries are so
make them ministers of state.
And I'm not saying deputies for all of them, but there are some that are so big.
Yes,
that
like
you
Minister
will
of
need
Finance.
support.
If you take the Minister of Finance,
Exactly.
ministers that are going to support the main finance minister must be ministers of state.
Right.
In charge of this, minister of state, in charge of this, not deputy ministers. Because when you make them deputy ministers, you weaken their stand.
Right.
Until the substantive minister gives you work to do, you have no work to do.
All right. For the sake of time, before I bring in
Yes.
Yusuf Suleimana again, quick thoughts on, Bandai is in the northern region.
Yes, it is in the northern region.
Representation there. Haruna Idrisu for education.
Yes.
You have Murtala Mohammed also getting something. How do you feel about the representation as far as your region is concerned? Your party is not in power, but how do you feel about the region and how it's being represented?
It's balanced for now. Because in a way, I won't say it's balanced. For now, it's okay.
Which is it? Is it balanced or is it imbalanced?
I don't want. You see, if you say it's balanced, there are some people who will call for
it is balanced.
Because I just recollected that if I go that tangent, it's not going to help.
You get fire from somewhere.
See, if you take the northern region, we have the Chumbrus that are there, we have the Nauris that are there, we have the Basaris that are there, we have the Konkombes that are there, we have the Dogombes that are there. That's why I'm careful going in that tangent. For now, Murtala is a Dogomba. Aruna is a Dogomba. Are you getting me? Nungpe is a Konkomba, the transport minister.
Right.
Then the regional minister is also a Konkomba. Other people are still left, unattended to. I get what I'm saying.
But you see, that is where it always gets
that is the difficult.
No person can
I've made it
from
here.
all these
I've
groups.
made it clear
and
here
again, the people who will be, and I'm not speaking necessarily about this.
Oh, yes. The
people who will be nominated would have to serve, education, the other groups, the Basaris will also benefit from that. Roads and highways.
Yes.
So sometimes it's a
So
bit of a
I think my sister will agree with me why I did not want to go into the details. Because when you go into the details, you may come out with something you will be comfortable with.
All right. Let me quickly bring in Yusuf Suleimana. Yusuf, we'll be winding down on the conversation, but looking at the numbers that were promised, 60, and where we are currently, 42 down, 18 to go. Are your expectations that President Mahama, especially as you are as close as you are to him, will be able to meet the number 60 or thereabouts?
Yes, so the president has made this very, very clear. I remember I was at a meeting at Peduasu Lodge where we had the opportunity to look at our manifesto. And some people raised concern that the 60 was going to be a problem. And he said to them that he meant what he said and that he was going to appoint only 60 ministers. Don't forget, this is a man who has been there before. He's been a minister, a deputy minister, he's been a vice president, an acting president, and now a president. So when he speaks, he is speaking from an informed position. Now we're in Bole, when the regional executives of the NDC met with him, and their complaint was that, Mr. President, can you do something about this, your 60 ministers? And he said, this is enshrined in our manifesto, and I'm going to go by what we have stated in our manifesto. Leave that to me. I won't be able to do with the 60. And indeed, he is doing with the 60. He's not going to go beyond the 60, but let me put it on record. Even if he had said that he was going to appoint 120, the former president appointed over 100. You think everybody was happy after the 100 and something ministers were appointed? Definitely no. It's a human institution. Some will be happy, some will not be happy. All we need to do is to ensure that those who are appointed are competent and they can represent the interests of all Ghanaians. That for me is very important. And so for me, His Excellency, the President, is going to do with the 60, and he has no any problem with that. And some of us around him have no problems with that. Now, just to react to a very simple...
Just a quick one before you react. Are you happy?
Yes, I'm happy. I am happy because
I can see your face. You're not happy.
I am happy because I have a president who is worth more than 60 ministers. I am happy because the concerns of my people will be addressed. Let me tell you, in 2016, 2015, the NDC has started with so many projects in the Bole Bamboy constituency. Roadworks, electrification, construction of a nursing teacher training college, and many, many more projects. When the MPP took over power, they abandoned all the projects. Today, I'm assuring you that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will fix them. And that's the benefit we are talking about. And that is what is making me very happy. Over the years, since the 80 years of
Looks like we lost...
We cannot have reasonable numbers of people getting employment in my area. And so for me, I am happy because His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will deliver. Now, I go to the point that I was trying to make. When you ask him about whether or not he was happy with the representation of Northern region, he hesitated. There's a reason why he hesitated, but I won't want to go in there. What I want him to know is that the NDC has put together a committee, and it is this committee that is making the appointments. And the committee has adverted its mind to all these issues of regional balance, ethnic balance, gender balance, and what have you. I just call on him and his people to exercise patience and see what will happen at the end of the day. They shouldn't behave as if they are the ones directing us as to what to do. That's the hypocrisy of the MPP. When they hear that you are doing this, quickly they come out to say it. Then it will look like they are the ones directing you. You are not the ones directing us. We know what we are doing. Ghanaians have given us an overwhelming majority. Allow us. You can make your criticisms, but I tell you, that is not going to affect His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's administration. Just 2 days ago, you held a meeting, the minority, and said that you should frustrate the business of the majority, and for that matter, government. Look, you cannot frustrate us. We have the overwhelming majority. Ghanaians have given us that majority for a reason. God has given us that majority for a reason, and we are going to deliver. Come on board. Make your criticisms. Let us all come together to develop our nation. We have no place to go. Ghana is where we have. Ghana is what we have, and we must all work together to make our Ghana proud.
Yeah, my final bit to you, talking about frustrating government business and all that. The Appointments Committee has come under some fire for the pace at which they're moving and the controversies, and I think it's just an intersection between the competence of the committee and the composure of the minority, I think. What's your assessment of all that? What do you think is happening? So
I think you would have realized that the minority, yes, sometimes there are very petty issues that they can raise, so that as we move forward, we correct those petty issues. Now, an issue like addressing a letter and copying a chief of staff or copying a secretary to cabinet when there's no secretary to cabinet shouldn't lead to a debate that will take more than 2 hours, just because they want to, as it were, frustrations. Look, I was just standing behind one of them during the vetting of one particular minister. And then he said that, look, I'm going to make sure that we close at 4 o'clock. This man leaves the seat at 4 o'clock. When it was around 2 o'clock. And indeed, he ensured that the candidate sat there, the nominee sat there until after 4 o'clock. If this is not frustrating, what else is it?
Wow.
You are wasting our time.
Right.
You are wasting the time of Ghanaians. You are making sure that we don't get government to start working quickly. That is not patriotic enough.
Thank you, sir.
But I can understand them. It's difficult to stay in opposition. They have just started. They will be there for long, inshallah.
Thank you. Let me get back to the studio and ask you the same question. What's your assessment of the pace, the time wasting, the composure of minority, majority? What's your assessment?
And
what's happening
as
there?
you answer that question, also the quality of questions that have been asked. What do you make of them? Because sometimes it's not so much about how long the person is there, but the quality of what is being asked.
The NDC should be very thankful to the MPP, at least for once. We have cooperated and we have assisted government to put all ministers together, and then at the end of the day, they can start performing. We don't want excuses. For the first time, where you appoint a minister, by our standing orders, there should have been some time for the public to make some inputs. But we gloss over it. Appointments are made today, 2-3 days, vetting starts. And we make sure that all your candidates are going through. Now you say we are frustrating your business. How? It's not true.
Did you say you're making sure that all the candidates go through?
Yeah, because who is it that has been appointed and we said, look, as a minority caucus, we are not going to support the person? Where? I'm just telling you that, look, under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, if a minister is appointed, at least a week for the public to make input if they want. Before vetting starts, ask your wives, ask them. But this one, Look at when the three nominees were appointed. The finance, energy, and then attorney general. 2-3 days, we started vetting. And the people were vetted.
Is that not also about the show of faith that the NDC has also brought to bear in terms of accelerating matters? You remember when President Akufo-Addo said he was a man in a hurry,
yes,
and some of the moves
even
in Parliament? You remember that?
Yes, even that one, it takes at least a week before vetting starts.
It doesn't have to be a week, does it?
That's what yes, but sometimes it takes it's not even 2 weeks.
It took a week, then it doesn't have to be a week.
Look, per the orders, if you take order 217, 10 or something, when the names are published, we think that it is a public engagement because some people, you wouldn't know everything about somebody. You might know something that I don't know. So if you give the public the opportunity, they will also come. There are certain questions that you want some nominees to answer. I wouldn't know. You can get opportunity and let the committee have it. It's for that we give that particular period. But this one, we decided to do it quickly because we want the NDC government to fix their ministers so that nobody comes to complain. So you can't say we are frustrating business. Look, if it is about time wasting, it is not about MPP alone. Sometimes the chair of those committees can generate this kind of time wasting. I am a member of the appointment committee. I want to ask a question. Let me ask my question. Why do you want to protect the nominee? If you want to be overprotective, that's where you get prolonged sitting. And check.
But some protection is always
forget about whether the question
allowed.
is better.
Whether it's Ghana or the UK or the US, some protection is always in order.
So
and your side has done it, their side is doing it a bit.
So why are we complaining that somebody is frustrating government business? Because if you go and take some of the ministers that worked under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, some had over 6 hours, 4 hours. I don't
know about 6 hours. I know 4 hours.
Go and look at Godfred Damis vetting. Go and look at it. Go and look at the number of hours.
6 hours?
Go and look at it.
I thought one of the longest was
Kwabena
Jako.
You see, I said go and look at Godfred Damis vetting and look at the number of hours that we spent. I don't endorse it, okay? Because the appointment committee is not an examination center. Whether you pass or you don't pass, if the president decides that look, this is the young man I want to go and serve under this ministry, we are just to check whether the person has some kind of criminal records, what the 1992 Constitution stipulates, Article 94, whether the person meets all those things.
Fit to serve.
Exactly. If the person meets all those things, all other things you are doing, you are just wasting your time.
Which is why even if you keep someone there for 1 hour,
it doesn't. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That there are basic things that the Constitution wants us to look at. But sometimes we also want to test the competence of the person. And my brother, it is not the vetting, how fluent, how good you have spoken, that can let you be a successful minister. Right. It's not true.
Right.
There are people who at vetting level couldn't maybe express themselves, but you go to the ministry and they've performed marvelously well.
Indeed.
Sure. So for those kind of things, it's for the public, it's for the cameras. But I think that for the time wasting, sometimes the chairman, they should allow the person, no matter how foolish that question is, allow the nominee to answer.
Are you indirectly addressing Bernard Ahiafo?
Ahiafo is my friend. I'm addressing, what's the name? Yusuf, who is claiming that we're trying to frustrate their business. We are not frustrating anybody. Look, yesterday, we have to do the approvals. The first 3 came. We finished it. Just then, they decided to bring the other sets. We thought we were going to do it today. But we felt like, after all, the people have invented. If the report is ready, what is wrong with that? Let's get it done. All the 6 were approved yesterday. We are waiting for the next set where the appointment committee is coming out with their report, I'm sure by close of today. We want to make sure that this government forms as early as possible. We don't want complaints. We agree.
So you can start applying pressure.
Ghanaians have given them overwhelming majority. We won't complain. Are you getting me? 1 year will pass. We will look at what is going to happen.
What's an active opposition?
We don't pray for any. Look, all
because you're sounding like okay.
No, we are okay.
Oh,
anyhow. Okay. The young men that are going and they are touting, they are this, we all know them. Okay. Most of them, honestly, most of them have been deputy ministers before. Most of those appointees that have been elevated to...
Murtala Mohammed, Deputy for Trade and Industry,
look,
he's now been...
Yes, all of them. Most of... Look, what's the name? Finance Minister, he's been a Deputy Minister before. Yeah. Mines has been a Deputy before. Attorney General has been a Deputy Minister before.
Dr. Aine.
Yes. Agric Minister has been a Minister before. Not even once. Aruna has been...
4 times.
4 times Minister before. So these are people that we are sending there. And for that matter, obviously, we have some kind of knowledge about the ministry. So it's not something that...
But there are new ones who are also very well versed. I mean, Opariado.
Yes, Opariado.
Latte.
Yes.
Doc and others. Who
they are new. They are not coming. I get what I'm saying. But like I said, nobody will have excuse about we the minority not supporting government business. We're making sure that the opposition will support them, give them all the tools they need. Then from there,
then you start.
We will start. Oh yeah,
let's get.
But I just have an interesting. With him, Uchi,
oh, but
from Pandai. Do you know why I'm bringing up the achievement?
No.
You remember Afenyo Market to Haruna Idrisu about his chief and a bit about his wife.
I'm impressed. Very good. I stayed in Kumasi for 8 years.
Oh, okay.
So
let's get final words from Yusuf Sulemana. You have the final word, sir.
Yeah. So let me say that I think that my colleague and Ghanaians should appreciate the proactiveness of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the majority. Yes, we could have waited to advertise for a week like they did, even though the president had promised that he was in a hurry. John Dramani Mahama hasn't promised that he's in a hurry, but he has realized that it is not wrong for you to quickly get your ministers vetted. And so he has taken up that opportunity, and so we are on course. Again, you see, they have no option. Ghanaians have spoken. Whether you come in or you don't come in, we have, a quorum to go ahead. It is just because of the beauty of democracy that we are entertaining this. If not, Ghanaians have decided that even without them, they can sit in their houses, they can sit in their rooms, they can sit in their offices and watch us if they so choose. But I'm saying that let us work together. We have Ghana to build, and together we should be able to make Ghana proud. And we are thanking God that we have an experienced person on the seat. This is not somebody who says that, give me the steer to try. He's tried it, he has perfected himself, and he's on course. That tells you that we're not going to waste time. And so he promised to deliver his cabinet ministers in 2 weeks after swearing in. He has done that. All the promises, people have been tasked to put their eyes on them so that he can meet them. And that is leadership. And this morning, I want to congratulate him once again and to say that his younger brother, his Suleiman Yusuf, and the people of Bole Bamboy want to apologize to him and that we are proud of him.
Yusuf Sulemana is Member of Parliament for Bole Bamboy. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Let's give you the final word now.
You see, those statements that they've been making, that Ghanaians have spoken, we could have sat in our, if we want, we'll sit in our houses here and there. We've passed campaign level. You should stop that. 2016, we had 169. We thought we were there. We thought nobody would come. We thought the NDC is dead. The next parliament, we came struggling to get numbers. You see, it's not for nothing that the Bible says that, look, there is joy in death than birth. Okay? If you have just given birth, you are yet to grow. You don't know what the world has for you. But if you are dying, you are goodbying. Everybody has seen your whatever you've been able to do. They are not coming. They should limit the talk. Okay. They should limit the talk. We know His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He served us before. This is a new John Dramani Mahama. Ghanaians have given him the responsibility. Let him serve us. Okay. It's too early for him to be boasting. But like I said, the minority will do business with the majority. We will never frustrate government business.
When you say it's too early for him to be boasting, are you referring to the president?
No. The spokesperson for the president this morning. He's the one I'm referring to. Yes. He's the one I'm referring to. But like I said, We are not ready to frustrate any government business.
Right.
We have a country to govern. It is all a collective responsibility. Parliament is a wing of government. So we are part of government. So he cannot just run us down. The 88 that we have in Parliament is a big number. And we're going to make sure that we will obviously hold them accountable. We will play our oversight responsibility carefully. And at the end of the day, Ghanaians will weigh their performance, weigh our performance, and see that 2028, they have a choice to make.
Yusuf says you are going to be in opposition for a long time.
We have said this. Are you getting me? We've said this over and over and over.
Right.
Today this is where we find ourselves.
Right.
So that one, I don't want to begrudge him. He's entitled to his opinion.
Right.
But I want to beg the president, on behalf of my brother, Yusuf. I know all what
But
he
are
has
you
said.
enjoying the opposition so far?
Oh,
Yusuf says you will enjoy this position for a while. Are you enjoying opposition?
this opposition is for 4 years.
Sir.
Oh yes, it's for 4 years.
You say that with such confidence.
It's for 4 years. 2028, we're going into elections. 2028 is an election time. Right. Ghanaians will go to the polls again to decide who leads them. And I'm telling you, they should not be too much complacent.
Okay.
They should not think that they are there. No, it's dangerous.
Right. Matthew Nyindam
I haven't finished appealing to
Oh, we have to
president.
go.
No. The
Do
president
this
must
in
give-
less than 30 seconds.
Oh, it will even be less than that. I want my brother, you see, fixed somewhere. That's what I want to appeal to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Because I can see that my friend is not happy. But he can't speak.
He says he's happy.
Oh, for that
what is your concern?
The grassroots have spoken his mind. It's only the violent aspect that
you cannot grieve for those affected by
the
death.
The grassroots have spoken my man's mind. But for the violence, it is not his mind. But for the appointment, that is his mind.
Martin Nyindam, thank you
Yes.
very much, sweetie.
Yes, Matthew Nyindam is former Majority Chief Whip and Member of Parliament for Kwandai.